Now, I have a lot of great conversations with some wonderful people, right? And a lot of times we talk about self-development and how to become better people, how to live better quality lives, right? Truly enhancing the human experience for not just ourselves, but everyone around us, right? And this is often the conversations that I like to have. And within these conversations, we talk about all kinds of things. And often what people tell me is, I need to become a more spiritual person. I need to be more spiritual. I need to get in touch with my spirituality. Naturally, I'll ask, what does that mean? What do you mean by you need to become more spiritual? And most people don't really quite know. They have some ideas and opinions, like we all do. And I'll often hear, well, you know what? I need to get back to going to church. I need to get back to reading my Bible. I need to speak to Jesus, right? Or Allah, or Hashem, or whatever God you believe in, right? Whatever religious text you believe in. Some people tell me they need to meditate more. They need to get back to meditating. Because when they were meditating, they were in such peace and their state was amazing. Right? And we have all different kinds of ways to meditate, don't we? We can cross our legs. We can hold our hands in different positions. We can go, right? We can do all of that. We can recite affirmations and chant things. It works for some people, and a lot of people do it. We go on spiritual retreats with gurus and learn from all their wisdom and things like that, right? There's a lot of different avenues to perhaps become more spiritual people. But what is spirituality? What is it really? This is what I'm curious about. This is what I think we need to really learn about and truly understand. And that's what I got to talk to you guys about today. It all starts with the understanding that the human experience is a duality of spirit and ego, both equally necessary, both equally important. Because without one, you cannot experience the other. Now, spirit and ego, they have two different sets of roles and two different languages. Now, I'm going to get into the languages. We'll start with that. Now, the most common language that we're used to is the language of the ego, which is me and I. Right? I am Remsen. This is me. I am one person with complete autonomy. I like this. I want that. I like to lift weights. I like to be strong. I like to coach and mentor. I like blue. I like nature. I want to live a certain way. I. Right? Me. That's the language of the ego. And often we look at this and it's very typical to say the ego is bad and we should shrink it as much as possible and kill the ego in order to be enlightened. To me, in my opinion, that's ridiculous. And I don't find it to be very productive because without the ego, you can't experience anything. Because the ego is just the human body. It's what encapsulates our spiritual essence. It's what allows us to feel and smell and see and all of that, right? It's just a tool to interface with our environment. It's essential. It's like, guess what? If you want to make calls, you better have a phone, because without the phone, you can't talk. It's just a tool. It's an essential tool to be able to interface with reality. Now, moving on to the language of the spirit. And that language is the language of us and we. There's a big contrast there, because us and we implies inclusiveness. And whereas the ego creates separation, the spirit diminishes separation, draws us closer. strengthens the connection. It's a counterbalance to the ego. They balance each other out. And so you want to have a healthy level of separation, and you want to have a healthy level of connection. You need both. You need both in proportion. That's a really, if you take anything away from this video, it is that. You need a healthy balance of both. Now, I'm going to get into the roles of the spirit and the roles of the ego. Let's start with the role of the spirit. Now, the role of the spirit is twofold. Simple, but amazing. Beautiful. Number one, connect. Number two, enhance. When I say connect, I mean connect with people, connect with animals, connect with the earth, connect with the universe, connect with God. And then number two is enhance. Enhance the human experience. Enhance the experience of others, both human and animals. And that enhancement is everything. That takes your life to a whole nother level. Because you don't just enhance your own human experience, you enhance the experience of everyone around you that you connect with. Your friendships are amazing and meaningful. Your conversations are deep and amazing and wonderful, and they feel good. You value people through the roof, and they value you. You strengthen people. You feed people. You lift people up. Your marriage, your relationships, everything, every bond you have is strengthened, and you're more sensitive to it. There's more love there. There's more high energy there. Food tastes amazing. Your health is phenomenal. Sex feels amazing. Hugs feel amazing. Just biting into a juicy piece of fruit is amazing. The breeze feels so good. It's like being on ecstasy, right? You go from living at 720p to 4K. You go from 30 frames per second to 220. 240, I should say, right? Everything becomes vivid. Everything becomes more meaningful. So the deeper and stronger your spiritual connection is to everything around you, the more enhanced everything is, then the greater your understanding becomes. This is powerful. It's absolutely amazing to understand this. And when you start to experience this, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. On the flip side, you have the ego, the role of the ego. And the two main components that we are most familiar with when it comes to the ego is self-preservation and ownership. Right? Self-preservation, wanting to continue to live. Survival, protection, safety, comfort. Things we all want deeply. And then there's ownership. That's my wife, that's my girlfriend, that's my house, that's my car, that's my husband, my boyfriend. I'm not sharing. Those are my accomplishments, my trophies, my recognition, my identity, my legacy. Now, these things aren't inherently bad, right? Because in order to have a spiritual experience, you gotta live, right? If you die, that's over, right? And if you die, you don't get to own anything. So ownership is very important. Self-preservation is very important. But if those things become your primary focus, well, now things get toxic. Because when you're so focused on your own safety, you tend to throw other people under a bus if it helps you make it another day. ownership can become very toxic. Right? And the patriarchy that we live in, we men say, that's my woman. She belongs to me. And then women also say, that's my man. I don't want him looking at other girls. Right? Guys say, I don't want her looking at other guys. And we get upset. Why is this person in your inbox? Why are you talking to this person? Who you calling? Who you texting? Remember, you're mine. I own you. And monogamy can be a beautiful thing, but if that ownership becomes toxic, monogamy becomes toxic in that instance. And now we have problems. So now understand that if you're obsessed with ownership, you're obsessed with accolades, you're obsessed with recognition and all these type of things, you become toxic when these become your main focuses. But here is how you protect yourself from your ego. And that's the third role of the ego. That is to connect to your spiritual side. This is where the whole piece comes together. The ego connects to the spirit, and the spirit connects to everything else. Amazing. So I'm gonna give you an example. This is going to be an example that all of you should get. If you own a cell phone, a tablet, or a laptop, and you understand anything about technology, the example, the illustration that I am about to give you will bring it all home. All right, so I'm going to blow your mind right now. Check it out. Now, I'm going to use the illustration of a cell phone connecting to the internet. So you got the device, whether it be your iPhone, your Samsung S9 or 10 or 11, whatever number they're up to, and you pick that phone up and you connect to the internet through the Wi-Fi connection. And when you connect to that internet, you can go on Instagram and look at a bunch of beautiful pictures that people post. Some of it's beautiful, some of it's sexy, some of it's exciting, some of it's inspiring, some of it'll make you mad, some of it make you laugh, right? All that type of stuff. You can go on Facebook, like your friends' posts, comment, watch videos. You can go on YouTube, watch videos, learn things. You can Google stuff and learn how to do things, right? Learn new recipes, learn how to fix things, DIY, make a home, design things, all kinds of stuff, right? You can go anywhere on the internet. It's just a wealth of experience and education and all of that type of stuff, right? You can meet people on the internet, develop new friendships. You can do live videos, and all your friends on the internet come and watch your live videos, and they comment on your live video. You can read it in real time and respond and all of that type of stuff. A lot of fun, right? And we love this. And as the device improves, as the infrastructure improves, we get a better connection to the internet. We can do more things. But we need that Wi-Fi connection. We need that data connection in order to experience it. So check this out. Let's walk it back a little bit. That device is like the ego, right? Your body. Imagine your body is like that device, right? Now imagine the Wi-Fi is like spirituality. Because remember, spirituality is needed to connect. Connect to what? The internet. Now imagine the internet is the world, right? Earth, the universe. Right? That device, it's a nice device, right? It may be really slim and lightweight and have a very colorful and impressive screen and resolution, and it has a whole bunch of features and everything, right? And it's fast and all this type of stuff. But if it doesn't have a strong Wi-Fi connection, the experience is very limited. You see? Just like we are. If we have a weak spiritual connection, we can't, the way we enjoy the world around us and the people around us is very limited. We can't connect with other people. We can't connect with the world around us. We need that spiritual Wi-Fi. Amazing. So it doesn't matter if you have the what is it, the iPhone X or the X Plus or the X Plus X DVD, whatever it is, right? The Mini Max Pro, whatever they got going on now. It doesn't matter how refined and up-to-date the device is. If the connection is weak, well, you're going to be very limited. You see? Now here's the thing. Just like you don't own the Wi-Fi, the same way you don't own spirituality. You don't really own your spirit because it's connected to everybody else's spirit. Because it's connected, there's no space. That's the thing you need to learn about spirituality. Very important. That's why spirituality is us and we. Spirituality has no identity. It's all encompassing. And this is why somebody else can come over to your house with their device and connect to your Wi-Fi. The same way somebody can come over to your house and can connect with you spiritually to enjoy the world around you, to enjoy the internet. Amazing, right? It's called being on the same frequency. Because your Wi-Fi is just a frequency that you just dial into in order to experience the internet, or the frequency that allows you to experience the world around you. So the same way we can share spirituality, share a spiritual bond, is the same way we can share a Wi-Fi connection. Deep. So the same way you want a new, you want your iPhone, you put a case on it, right? You try to avoid dropping it so you don't crack the screen. You take care of it, right? And the more expensive that device is, the better care you take of it, right? You put a really expensive case on that really expensive phone, and you maintenance it and all of that type of stuff. You should do that with your body. You should do that with your ego. But understand, your ego, the only real purpose of your ego is to be able to connect. If you can't connect, what's the point of having the ego? It'll only take you but so far. What's the point of having a phone if you can't make calls on it? What's the point of having a phone with Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and Google if you can't connect to the internet? What's the point of having a sexy body and a six-pack and you're muscular and lean? Right? If you can't connect to the world around you, you can't lift. You can't connect with people. What's the point of being good-looking and attractive if you're an asshole and can't connect with people? You can't love and you're selfish and all that type of stuff. What's the point? You see? So when you develop your ego, you should be developing it with spirituality in mind. You should be developing it so you can get a better connection. Right? Strong connection is everything. Because the world is everything. So just in that simple illustration, that is how you can really learn what spirituality is. It's your connection. It's the means to connect. Your body's just a medium. That's the message. Now, let's take it back a little bit to the beginning of the conversation. Back to those who tell me they want to be more spiritual. They want to become more spiritual. When you tell me that you want to become more spiritual, that you want to be more spiritual, that implies to me that you realize that your ego is ruining your life. You are so focused on your ego, you're so focused on self-preservation and ownership that it's destroying your life. It tells me that you're aware of this. Admitting this to me, admitting it to yourself, signals to me that you are aware that you are starving your spirituality. It's starved. When you're obsessed on your bills, understand that paying your bills is just a means of ownership and self-preservation. That's all that is. You need to pay your mortgage. You need to pay your rent to keep a roof over your head, because having a roof over your head is a safer place to be. It keeps you safe from the elements of outside and the harsh winters. Right? It keeps you safe from the predators. When you get to own your own place, you get to own your own home, right? That's ownership. When you put all the stuff in your home, all the stuff that's in your home is ownership. Paying your phone bill, that's ownership. Buying all your food, you own all that food. The TV you put in that home, it's ownership. The car you put in the garage, it's ownership. And the bills, that's also ownership. You own those bills, right? And so when you're working a job where the focus is getting paid enough money at that job so you can continue the self-preservation and the ownership, that's all ego. All of that is focused on ego. None of that is spiritual connection. Okay, we don't really connect to things. We connect to experiences and other living beings. And so when you're spiritually starved because you're focusing on ownership and self-preservation, you realize this is killing you. And so you come to the conclusion, I need to become more spiritual. If your marriage is a mess, if people don't find you attractive, or you think people don't find you attractive, people don't really want to talk to you, you don't really know how to have conversations with people, you feel awkward and uncomfortable with hugs and eye contact and exchanging personal information, personal stories. You don't really feel comfortable telling people about you, letting people in, you put up walls. This is an indication of spiritual starvation. Right? So, ladies and gentlemen, when you meet a great person and you're like, oh, he or she is beautiful and they treat me great and I really appreciate everything they do for me, but I'm just not really attracted to them anymore. It's because you're so spiritually starved, you can't enjoy the relationship. You don't have the capability of enhancing the experience. You don't have the ability of connecting with that person. Your Wi-Fi signal is weak. So if they share that Wi-Fi or that spiritual bond with you, you're both on a weak frequency, a low frequency, and your relationship cannot thrive that way. And when you realize that, then you come to the conclusion, I need to become more spiritual. I'm going to tell you right now, the answer to pretty much any of your problems is becoming more spiritual. The answer to improving and enhancing your life is spiritual awareness. Because when you're spiritually aware, when your spirit starts starving or it's going hungry, you're kind of neglecting it because you're focused on all the ego stuff, that spiritual awareness kicks in. And then you're like, oh wait, I need to go and do more of this. I need to feed that spiritual connection. Now, there's a variety of different ways to feed your spirituality. A big part of it is getting out of your own way. You can start with not being so obsessed with ownership, learning to let things go, learning to be okay with having less. Give up all the stuff that you're fighting to keep. Right? Hoarding is a thing. Right? It's like, it's not enough to have 5 pairs of shoes. You got to have 7, 10, 12, 15 pairs of shoes. It's a bit much, right? It becomes very expensive. You need the biggest TV. So you're just, every year you're buying a new TV, or every couple of years you're buying a new TV that's bigger and more advanced than the last. You need to have the latest phone. You need to drive a better car. You need to go and drink more alcohol, go to more fancier bars, and go to more expensive restaurants, right? The consumerism, the need to consume and have more. It's the American way. And it's probably killing you. It's killing the country, it's killing everyone in it. It's making things very costly, and you gotta work overtime in order to be able to sustain it, and it's killing your spiritual connection. So, maybe it's time to go in a more minimalist direction. Maybe it's time to cut back a little bit on the things and get closer to connecting to experiences and people. Because no one really cares whether you have 3 shirts or 20 shirts. No one really cares what the inside of your closet looks like. But what is the inside of your mind and your heart looks like? What is the content of your character? What is your ability to connect? That's what you got to have an abundance of, not an abundance of things. Here's another great one. Optimizing your ego for a greater connection and sharing. These two, that's a big one, right? When you go to the gym and you train, you're not just doing it just to build muscle just because. You're not cutting the body fat just because. Right? Why? When you're healthier, when you're stronger, when you've grown from being soft and weak to being tough and strong and mobile, that allows for a better connection with the world around you. Right? When you have more stamina, you can go for longer walks. When you're stronger, you can hike longer. You can do the rock climbing. You can do the swimming. You can engage with the world in a way that you couldn't if you were weak and sick. So when you're over 300 pounds, 40, 50% body fat, you can't really do the swimming and the climbing and the running and all of that type of stuff and the bike riding the way you could if you were fit. And that enhances your ability to connect with nature and the world around you. It allows you to be mobile and travel and experience the world. And you can do it for a greater period of time, because when you're healthier, you live longer. And when you're sick, you have a shorter life. And then when you share how you went from being soft and weak to being strong and tough, when you share it with others, when you share your progress, when you share your process, and other people can see it, they want to connect with you. They want to know how you did it. You may become a coach like me, because they want to learn from you. And you can teach. And when you teach, you connect. When you share, you connect. It's kind of like when you share a post on Facebook. It's kind of like when you get in front of the camera, like what I'm doing right now, and you share on YouTube. People like and comment. They ask you questions. You make new friends. This increases your connection. This puts you in a position where you can enhance someone else's experience. Boom, right? So optimizing your ego for connection and sharing. All right, last but not least, here's one more, okay? And that is being more present and focusing on what you love. Woo, man, let me tell you something, how important that is. Let me give you an example. I'm big into fitness. I go in the gym and I train hard. And one thing I've learned is the harder you train, the more focused and in the present moment you become. You want to know how you hit a PR in the gym? You want to know how you break records? You get completely in the present and you focus on what you love. You love to break records. You love to pick that weight up. You love to prove that you are stronger. And you got to be completely focused and in the moment. If you're going to a weightlifting competition, you can't be focused on what happened yesterday. You can't be focused on last week. You can't be focused on none of that. You got to be in the present. I got to do this here and now, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. And you hit that weight, and you pick it up, and you get those 3 white lights from the judges, and you're like, yes! Right? And you love that. Focus on the things you love. Focus when you're with your kids, when you're with your family, when you're with your husband or your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your friends. You are focused on that moment. You're not focused on your bills. You're not focused on how things could have went better last year. You're not focused on all that stuff that you worried about. You are focused on the connection that you have within that moment. You are focused on connecting with the people that you are currently in the company of. Focus on connecting to what you love. This is a great relationship tip. You take your girlfriend out, fellas. Look her deep into her eyes and think to yourself, I am so blessed to be with this woman who I love so deeply. And I need to connect and enhance. You will develop a spiritual bond, a very strong spiritual bond when you do that. But when you're with her and you're on your phone and talking to everybody else, that's a weak bond. That hurts. Because all she's doing when your head is down like this, looking in your phone, all she sees is the top of your head. Show her that eye contact. Wrap your arms around her. And vice versa. Ladies also, get off your phone. Focus on your man. Show him the gratitude for the focus that he puts on you. Focus on each other. Love each other. Celebrate each other. You get more in the habit of doing that, you will become a more spiritual person. That deep spiritual connection becomes normalized. And that's the way you're consistent. That's the way you get consistent. When you take these three things and you normalize them, you do them day in and day out. And watch how drastically your life changes. Watch how you feel. Notice how your human experience enhances.